A very heavy news day.
It's pretty busy. Yeah. The Gary Cohn news kind of fits in the backdrop for what we're talking about in terms of trade policy.
Does all of this, now with him gone, and there's a view out there that this allows Donald Trump to not pursue his turnaround on free market reforms or free market policies here, does that give the Fed room to pause?
I don't think the Fed's going to pause. I mean, the news really would be about Brainerd changing her view to a much more hawkish view. The Fed
she's usually dovish.
Very dovish, usually. So it's amazing to see dollar yen lower today, and it is because of these trade tensions and these trade fears. I think Gary Cohn, at the best he did was probably delay the trade tariffs and what's been coming out of the Trump administration. Because I guess if it was up to him, NAFTA wouldn't even really be renegotiated. So you can see how there's been this sort of civil war between the White House members as to where trade policy should go. The 301 investigation, due by April, we think it will come a bit earlier, will be the next level of tariffs. So the aluminium and steel, that's actually a very small amount of US imports. In terms of numbers, it's like 2%. So it's a very small amount. It's when you talk about Asia and China, for example, that's around 20% of US imports. That will have a much bigger market impact.
So it was more optics, at least at the beginning.
Definitely. This is a market trying to extrapolate where do we go to next in terms of trade tariffs.
Now, in terms of the Fed, since you brought up Brainerd here and this change of view, I mean, how do we approach the Fed now? I mean, I know they'll still be data dependent and they'll still be meeting dependent, but in other words, can we now assume they'll hike every other meeting until the data tells us otherwise?
Yeah, we're looking for 6 hikes from here until next year. So that's around 150 basis points of hikes. The market's pricing around 104 basis points, so there's a bit more. But the way rates are feeding through into the dollar does not necessarily mean that those Fed hikes will translate to a stronger dollar. In fact, we think it will have a weaker dollar, and the longer-term drivers are in play here. So PPP, purchasing power parity, that's dollar yen at 90. That's euro dollar going up to 130 in terms of the direction of where the dollar's going to go in our view.